So today I'm going to teach you a very important UPSC topic, that is author A.K. Ramanujan. A.K. Ramanujan as a man, as a poet, and yes, you can see the questions which I have taken for the UPSC 2025, and these are all very relevant questions to be you can see coming in the next examination of UPSC optional. Ramanujan, A.K. Ramanujan. What is the full name? Attipat Krishna Swami Ramanujan. Was born in 1929 and raised in Mysore by parents from Madras, जो आज हम चेन्नई कहते हैं. He received his school and college education in Mysore itself. He was then a fellow at Deccan College, Pune from 1958 to 59. आपने एक स्कॉलरशिप का नाम सुना होगा जिसका नाम है फुल ब्राइट स्कॉलरशिप. So he was a Fulbright scholar at Indiana University in 1960-62. Then he worked as a lecturer in English literature at the universities of Belgaum and even Baroda. But he was not content to live at one place with teaching English. And he has written, you can note down this quote unquote for your answer writing. He writes somewhere with inverted commas open, I wanted to live in different parts of India for 1 year in each, at least. I started in Kerala, then moved to Madras, to Madurai, then I went to Belgaum for a few years and to Pune and Baroda. He had to stay longer in Belgaum due to some family reasons. The want of stability had its advantages. उसका जो झुकाव था, उनका जो interest था in Tamil and Kannada poetry grew here. He also became interested in the problem of literacy. He wrote pamphlets. And how and where? He wrote pamphlets basically for magazines. And during this period, he became dissatisfied with the teachings of English and felt that the right way to study it was from the viewpoint of a linguistic or a linguist. Ramanujan writes about his disillusionment with English and what he has written in quote unquote, I became disillusioned with my teaching of English. I felt I was not doing it right. We were not doing it right, even though many of us were very dedicated to English and to our students. I felt that even after 5 to 6 or a dozen years of learning English, many students did not know it well enough how to use it. Of course, there were some extraordinary students, but for most of them, in spite of their high esteem for English, the results, after giving so many years of their life to it, were very disappointing. I was in Baroda, for instance, teaching English in the commerce section, but the students were my despair. Even though they liked me very much, listened to my stories, I told them, and so on and so on. If I asked them to write something, they wouldn't get one sentence right. So I wondered if there was any other way of doing this. So that was the agony, pain, despair of Ramanujan's heart, and that is why he could not make himself sustain in one kind of teaching English. So he left English, teaching English, and took a course in linguistics in Deccan College, Pune, and then studied linguistics on Fulbright scholarship at Indiana University, USA. He also went to the University of Chicago in 1962, where he has been a professor of Dravidian studies. Department of South Asian Languages and Civilizations. He enjoyed greatly the teachings of linguistics, morphology, syntax, and so on. रामानुजन ने एक जगह अपने बुक में कहीं पे लिखा है, कोट अनकोट में, but because I had always been interested in folklore and in the anthropology of language, structuralism, semiotics, connections between linguistics and forms of communication in general, over the years I have become more and more involved in the South Asian language. He could learn more about India in USA. उन्होंने इंडिया के बारे में ज्यादा जाना जब वो यूएसए में थे, और उन्होंने एक जगह फिर ये लिखा है, he writes with quote unquote, the department is very dear to me because it has taught me more about India living here in Chicago than I could have learned anywhere else, even in India. In India, I would have taken many things for granted, and I would not have met so many kinds of translators. There are such people in India, of course, but I would not have met many of them. In Chicago, they are bunched together in one place. That was the reason why he shifted from India to other place. Thus, Ramanujan is a voluntary exile from India. He has not ceased to be an Indian, and yet he has no feeling to be an alien. He writes in Kannada, he writes in English, translates Tamil. His wife, an Indian novelist, given courses on creative writing in colleges near Chicago. His daughter is a scholar of Greek and Sanskrit. Ramanujan has been immensely popular for his poetry, both original and even transcreational. He has copiously translated from Tamil and Kannada into English. उसके जो कुछ translations हैं, that include 15 Tamil poems 1965, The Interior Landscape 1967, which was even awarded the gold medal of Tamil Writers Association, speaking of Suka, S-U-K-A, which was nominated for the National Book Award 1974. आपको वो वाला बुक का नाम तो याद ही होगा, Samskara 1976, Poems of Love and War, an anthology of translations from Tamil 1984, and yes, South Indian folk tales. He also wrote The Literature of India and Introduction. Striders, Relations are his two collection of poems. Striders and Relations. ये दो उसकी collection of poems हैं which he composed in English. He has been represented in the 10-20th century 10-20th century Indian poets, the Penguin Poet of Love Poetry, Young Poets of the Commonwealth, New Writing in India, and many, many others. His awards include Padma Shri by the Government of India and MacArthur Award. Ramanujan's Kannada poetry is included in No Lotus in the novel. He began writing poetry in Kannada at the age of 15. And yes, as a poet, Ramanujan is very, very popular in USA. He has been listed in every who's and who. So this is a man, Ramanujan, whose position is considered to be one of the most talented of the new poets. His poetic output is slender, but what he has written is conspicuous for inherent poetic worth. His English poems are included in 2 slender volumes, अभी जैसे मैंने बताया आपको, The Striders and Relations. इसके साथ साथ you have to know about, Relations, poems published in 1972, and even you will have to understand about this Ramanujan as a poet, which I have told you. Now, you have to understand nostalgia in his poetry characteristics. Characteristics of Ramanujan poetry, you can also understand it like nostalgia in Ramanujan's poetry, or you can even say his craftsmanship.